The secret incident that happened on your wedding day. It's about to be revealed today. Listen carefully, my child, because this is not random and this is not arriving late. This message is finding you at the exact moment your spirit can finally handle the truth, and I need you to stay with me. Do not skip this. Do not let distraction steal what was hidden for you, because something occurred on that sacred day that you were never meant to fully understand until now, and even as I speak, your heart is already reacting. Isn't it? Can you feel that tightening in your chest as memory stirs? Tell me honestly, have you ever felt that something about that day never fully settled in your spirit? I am speaking directly to you, chosen one, because you were watched more closely than you realized, not just by people, but by forces seen and unseen, and there was a moment, brief but powerful, when heaven intervened and hell took note, and you sensed it but you brushed it away, didn't you? You smiled for the photos, you followed the ceremony, you moved through the motions, but deep inside there was a flicker of unease. Do you remember that feeling you could never explain? Listen carefully, my beloved, because this is a divine interruption, and if you stop now you will miss what is about to unlock years of confusion. Type Amen if you feel my voice reaching into that memory right now, because the truth is, someone present that day carried an intention that was never spoken aloud, and it attached itself to the atmosphere, and your spirit detected it before your mind could. Have you ever wondered why certain struggles began shortly after that day, or why joy and pressure seemed to arrive at the same time? Do not skip this, you must hear this, because what I am about to reveal will not accuse, it will liberate, and I want to ask you something deeply personal. Have you ever asked yourself why the happiest day of your life also marked the beginning of your deepest tests? My child, there was a silent exchange that day, not of vows, but of observation. Someone underestimated you, someone doubted the destiny tied to your union, and their silent thought became a spiritual challenge, and you felt the resistance grow over time, didn't you? Obstacles that made no sense, delays that felt unfair, arguments that appeared out of nowhere. Tell me, have you noticed how certain battles in your life never seem to come from logic but from nowhere at all? This is not to create fear, listen carefully, because protection was released the same moment opposition arose, and you were covered even when you felt exposed, you were guarded even when you felt vulnerable, and heaven recorded everything. Type yes if you believe you were protected even when you did not understand how, because the incident I am speaking of was sealed until today for a reason, and that reason is timing. Your timing, your growth, your readiness, and I need you to stay focused. Now, because another layer is about to be uncovered, and this is where many people would have turned away, but you stayed, didn't you? You endured, you adapted, you survived, and that alone proves something about you. Have you ever realized how strong you became without anyone officially acknowledging it? My beloved, there was also a moment that day when a blessing was delayed on purpose, not denied, delayed, so it could mature alongside you, and you have felt its absence, haven't you, like something promised but postponed? Tell me, have you ever felt like life owed you an explanation it never gave? This message is your explanation beginning now, and I need you to type I receive if you are ready to know why that delay is ending, because I am warning you gently and lovingly. What comes next will shift how you see your past, your partner, and yourself, and if you stop listening you will misunderstand what is unfolding. Do you believe this message found you intentionally, or do you still think this is coincidence? Stay with me, because the truth behind who witnessed that moment, who felt threatened by it, and who unknowingly triggered a chain of events is about to surface, and when it does, everything you questioned will suddenly make sense, and what happens next will shock you. And as that shock begins to ripple through your spirit, I need you to listen even more carefully now, my child, because what I am revealing next is the part that was hidden even from you, the part your soul sensed but could not name, and this is not random, this is the moment of unveiling. Don't skip this, because the incident on that day did not end when the music faded or when the guests left. It followed you quietly, patiently, waiting for the exact season when truth would no longer destroy you but restore you. And I ask you gently, have you ever noticed how certain patterns in your life repeated themselves without explanation? There was a spiritual witness present that day who marked you not for harm but for observation, and that awareness alone has shaped many of your tests. Do you feel the weight of that realization settling in right now? Listen carefully, my beloved, because fear is not the purpose of this message, clarity is, and protection is being reinforced even as I speak. Type Amen if you feel peace rising instead of panic, because that is how you know this revelation is from me, and I need you to understand something crucial. The tension you felt on that day was not because something went wrong, it was because something powerful went right. And opposition noticed. Have you ever wondered why growth in your life always seemed to attract resistance at the same time? This is not coincidence. You must hear this, because the unseen moment I am describing involved a decision made about you without your consent, yet it could not override what was already ordained, and that is why conflict tried but never fully succeeded. Do you recognize how many times you should have broken but somehow did not? My child, the reason this truth could not surface earlier is because your heart needed strengthening first, and now you are strong enough to see it without bitterness. Tell me honestly, do you feel stronger now than you were back then, even after everything you endured? Stay with me, because another layer is opening, and this is where destiny shifts. The person who silently questioned your future that day has already been exposed in the spiritual realm, and their influence is dissolving. Have you noticed how certain pressures have recently begun to lift without explanation? Type yes if you feel a strange relief entering your life lately, because that is confirmation, and I am telling you now, the blessing that was delayed is moving again, quietly but rapidly, and it will arrive in a way that proves timing was everything. Do you believe restoration can still surprise you? Do not skip this, because what I am about to say next is the key. The incident did not damage your union, it refined it, and what was meant to weaken you actually revealed who was truly committed to the journey. Have you ever realized how trials expose truth in people around you? My beloved, you are not revisiting this memory to suffer, you are revisiting it to close a chapter that never fully closed, and as it seals, a new door opens, one that could not open until now. Can you feel anticipation replacing confusion? Listen carefully, because the final piece of this revelation is approaching, and when it arrives, it will answer the question you have carried silently for so long, and everything you thought was coincidence will suddenly align, and the truth I haven't revealed yet will change everything. As everything begins to align in your understanding, my child, I need you to slow your breath and stay present with me, because this next unveiling is delicate, powerful, and precise, and if you rush past it you will miss the healing hidden inside the truth. Listen carefully, because the reason that incident clung to your spirit for so long is not because it held power over you, but because it was waiting for permission to release its lesson, and today that permission is granted. Don't skip this, because what you are about to hear explains why your intuition sharpened after that day, why you began sensing shifts before they happened, why your discernment deepened without anyone teaching you. Have you ever noticed how you can now feel when something is off even before evidence appears? That is not imagination, that is growth born from survival, and I ask you, have you ever thanked yourself for enduring what no one else fully saw? My beloved, the silent incident was not just an external moment, it was an internal awakening, a moment when your spirit quietly stood taller, even if your body trembled, and from that point forward you were no longer walking blindly, you were being trained, and training is rarely comfortable. Do you feel that truth landing gently but firmly right now? Listen carefully, because another interruption is coming, and this one carries promise. The reason confusion followed clarity in your life is because you were learning to trust your inner knowing over external validation, and that lesson was seeded that very day. Tell me honestly, have you noticed how approval from others matters less to you now than it once did? Type yes if you feel that inner strength rising, because it confirms what I am telling you, and I need you to hear this with compassion. Someone present that day saw your potential before you did, and their fear was not about your marriage, it was about your future influence, and fear always reacts when destiny steps forward. Have you ever wondered why your progress made certain people uncomfortable? This is not random, you must hear this, because the same eyes that doubted you then can no longer reach you now, their access has been revoked, and protection has been reinforced. Do you feel safer in your spirit lately, even without obvious reason? My child, the tests that followed were never meant to punish you, they were meant to reveal what was unshakable within you, and you passed more of them than you realize. Have you ever looked back and thought, how did I survive that season? That question itself is evidence of grace, and I want you to type I am ready if you are prepared for the final unveiling of this layer, because what comes next connects the past to the miracle approaching your present, and I am warning you lovingly, if you stop now you will miss the confirmation you have been quietly asking for. Do you believe that answers can arrive exactly when your heart is prepared to receive them? Stay with me, because the last detail of this incident is about to surface, and when it does, you will understand why your life could never return to what it was before that day, and why what is coming next will feel both surprising and familiar, and everything is about to change. And as that change begins to breathe closer to you, my beloved, I need you to stay anchored right here, because this layer is where many people feel emotion rise unexpectedly, and that is not weakness, that is recognition. Listen carefully, because the incident you sensed that day was not only about what happened, but about what was prevented from happening, and protection is often invisible until hindsight reveals its shape. Have you ever wondered why certain disasters you feared never actually arrived? My child, there was a turning point woven into that moment, a quiet redirection that altered a path you never consciously chose but were spared from walking, and your spirit remembers even if your mind does not. Do you feel that subtle release in your chest right now as truth replaces fear? Don't skip this, because what I am revealing now explains why you escaped something that would have cost you far more than you realized, and I need to ask you, have you ever sensed that your life could have gone very differently if just one thing had shifted the wrong way? That awareness is not imagination, it is memory resurfacing, and I want you to type thank you if gratitude is rising in you without fully knowing why, because that is alignment. And listen closely, my child, the reason the truth waited this long is because blame would have distracted you before, but now clarity will empower you, and you are finally able to see without anger clouding your vision. Can you feel the difference between understanding and accusation? There was a quiet intervention that day that altered timing, altered access, and altered influence, and you felt the after effects as delay, confusion, and emotional stretching, but those were signs of recalibration, not loss. Have you ever noticed how what felt like delay actually positioned you differently than others? This is not coincidence, you must hear this, because the recalibration is complete now, and what was paused is being released in a purer form, and I ask you honestly, do you feel like something long restrained is beginning to move again in your life? Type yes if momentum feels close, because confirmation is forming even as I speak, and I want you to know, my beloved, the incident did not weaken your foundation, it revealed where it needed strengthening, and what was strengthened cannot be shaken again. Have you ever realized how unmovable you have become compared to who you once were? Listen carefully, because another interruption is arriving, and this one carries warning and promise together. Not everyone who smiled that day celebrated your future, but their influence has expired, and their words no longer echo in your path. Do you feel that certain voices have lost their power over you recently? My child, the reason this revelation matters now is because a door connected to that day is reopening, not to repeat the past, but to redeem it, and what walks through that door will answer prayers you stopped praying out loud. Have you noticed your desires becoming quieter but deeper? Stay with me, do not skip this, because the final truth tied to that wedding day is closer than you think, and when it surfaces, it will explain why your next season will look nothing like your last, and what happens next will leave you stunned. And as that stunned silence begins to form inside you, my child, I need you to remain still in your spirit, because this layer touches something sacred and easily misunderstood, and if you rush past it you will misread the blessing attached to it. Listen carefully, because the final impact of that incident was not immediate, it was generational, and that is why it echoed through years instead of days. Don't skip this, because what I am about to say will explain why certain cycles in your life tried to repeat but never fully succeeded. Have you ever noticed how patterns attempted to return yet somehow lost their grip before completing their damage? That was not luck, that was interception, and your spirit was protected long before your mind understood the threat. My beloved, there was a covenant moment hidden inside that wedding day, not written on paper, but sealed in the unseen, and it activated a protection that would later confuse you before it comforted you. Tell me honestly, have you ever felt guarded even while feeling uncertain at the same time? That paradox was intentional, and I need you to hear this with trust. The reason emotional tension followed that day was because alignment often disrupts before it stabilizes, and you were being aligned to something larger than you could yet perceive. Do you feel that perspective shifting inside you right now? Type Amen if clarity is replacing confusion, because that is confirmation, and I want to interrupt this moment with urgency, because if you stop listening now you will miss the explanation you have waited for in silence. My child, someone's silent expectation that day was broken, and when expectation breaks, resistance follows, but resistance cannot cancel assignment. Have you ever wondered why obstacles never erased your direction, only slowed your pace? This is not random, you must hear this, because the slowdown protected you from arriving too early to a place you were not yet prepared to stand in, and now preparation is complete. Tell me, do you feel more grounded than you were before, even after everything you endured? My beloved, the truth is, the incident did not steal from you, it shielded you, and shielding often looks like struggle until hindsight reveals purpose. Have you ever looked back and realized certain losses were actually reroutes? Type 1 trust if you are beginning to see that pattern clearly now, because another interruption is coming, and it carries promise. The blessing connected to that day was waiting for maturity, not perfection, and you have grown into the version of yourself that can finally receive it without breaking under its weight. Do you believe you are stronger now than you once prayed to be? Stay with me, because the final revelation connected to this incident is approaching fast, and when it surfaces, it will expose why the next season of your life will unfold suddenly, unexpectedly, and unmistakably. and the truth I am about to reveal will leave you unable to see your past the same way again. And as your understanding deepens, my beloved, I need you to hold this moment gently, because what I am releasing now touches the heart of why everything is shifting at once. Listen carefully, because the unseen agreement formed that day has reached its expiration, and when something expires in the spiritual realm, movement follows quickly in the natural. Don't skip this, because this explains why sudden changes have begun appearing without warning. Have you noticed doors opening that were locked for years, or conversations happening now that once felt impossible? My child, the incident you are learning about created a pause, not a prison, and that pause was designed to build resilience, wisdom, and authority inside you. Tell me honestly, do you recognize how differently you respond to pressure now compared to before? That difference is evidence of preparation, and I need to interrupt this moment with truth, because if you doubt what I am saying you will miss the confirmation unfolding around you. Type yes if you feel alignment increasing instead of fear, because that peace is your sign. And listen closely, the reason certain people drifted away after that day was not abandonment, it was filtration. And filtration always feels lonely before it feels safe. Have you ever realized how much quieter your life has become, even as it grows more meaningful? This is not coincidence. You must hear this, because the quiet made space for clarity, and clarity is what allows blessing to arrive without chaos attached. My beloved, the incident you sensed was heaven drawing a boundary around you, and boundaries often feel like limitation until they become protection. Do you feel protected in ways you cannot fully explain right now? Stay with me, because another interruption is arriving, and it carries urgency and hope together. The season you are entering will move quickly, and what once took years will take moments, but only because groundwork was laid in silence. Tell me, do you feel time speeding up around certain areas of your life lately? Type Amen if acceleration feels near, because that is confirmation, and I need you to understand this clearly. The reason truth is surfacing now is because you no longer need to be shielded from it. You are strong enough to stand in it without being wounded by it. Have you noticed how old memories no longer carry the same sting they once did? That healing is proof of readiness, my child. The incident did not define your story, it positioned it, and positioning always precedes promotion. Do you believe you are stepping into a higher place of authority in your life now? Listen carefully, because the final movement tied to this revelation is unfolding, and when it completes, the outcome will feel sudden to others but perfectly timed to you, and what happens next will leave no doubt that this moment was necessary. And as that necessity settles into certainty, my child, I need you to lean in even closer now, because what unfolds in this layer explains why the shift you feel is not temporary but permanent. Listen carefully, because permanence only arrives when truth replaces illusion, and today illusion is losing its grip. Don't skip this, because this is where many realize why their life could never return to the old version again. Have you felt recently like you no longer fit into spaces that once felt familiar? That is not rejection, that is elevation, and it began quietly on that wedding day when alignment overruled comfort. My beloved, there was a silent witnessing that day that sealed your trajectory forward, and even when you doubted yourself later, that seal remained unbroken. Tell me honestly, have you ever felt pulled forward even when fear tried to hold you back? That pull is destiny remembering itself, and I need to interrupt this moment with urgency, because if you turn away now you will miss the reassurance meant specifically for you. Type I believe if you feel that pull growing stronger instead of fading, because belief is activating what has been dormant. And listen closely, The reason emotional weight lifted without explanation recently is because something concluded in the unseen. An agreement ended, a cycle closed, and access was revoked. Have you noticed how certain triggers no longer affect you the same way? This is not random, you must hear this, because the freedom you feel is not emotional only, it is spiritual and structural, and it is making room for what comes next. My child, the incident you sensed was not a threat to your future, it was a signal that your future was already marked, and marked futures always attract attention before fulfillment. Do you feel the difference between being attacked and being targeted for growth? That distinction matters now, and I ask you gently, have you begun trusting your intuition more than external noise lately? That trust is preparation, and preparation is always followed by manifestation. My beloved, the season ahead will test your readiness not through pain but through opportunity, and that is why this truth had to arrive first. Have you ever considered that opportunity can be just as overwhelming as hardship? Stay with me, do not skip this, because the final confirmation tied to that wedding day is about to emerge in your present circumstances, and when it does, it will reveal why the delay, the pressure, and the silence were all necessary pieces of one divine sequence, and what I reveal next will leave you breathless. And as that breath catches in your chest, my beloved, I need you to remain open, because this layer carries the quiet proof you have been waiting for without knowing how to ask for it. Listen carefully, because the confirmation tied to that day is not arriving as a memory but as movement in your present. Don't skip this, because what you are experiencing now is the echo completing its return. Have you noticed how certain opportunities are appearing that mirror prayers you once whispered and then released? That is not coincidence, that is alignment reactivating, and I ask you honestly, do you feel like life is responding to you differently than it did before? My child, the incident you sensed was a marker placed in time, and markers exist so destiny knows where to return when the season is right, and the season is right now. Can you feel that sense of arrival forming even if the details are not yet clear? I need to interrupt you here, because if doubt tries to rise, it will attempt to disguise itself as logic, but logic cannot explain timing like this. Type yes if you feel something lining up beyond your control, because that is how you know it is not self-made, and listen closely. The reason this truth is unfolding gently is because force is no longer required, resistance has weakened, and pathways are opening naturally. Have you noticed how things are happening with less struggle lately? This is not random, you must hear this, because ease is not laziness, it is evidence of permission being granted. My beloved, the wedding day incident created a pause so that you would not outrun your own stability, and now stability has caught up with your calling. Do you feel more certain of who you are even when circumstances fluctuate? That certainty is the foundation for what is coming next, and I want to ask you something deeply personal. Have you felt a quiet confidence replacing the need to prove yourself? That shift is preparation, and preparation means arrival is near. My child, the unseen witness from that day no longer watches, because observation has turned into endorsement, and endorsement changes outcomes quickly. Can you sense that support around you that you cannot attribute to people alone? Type Amen if you feel backed in ways you cannot explain, because that backing is active now, and listen carefully. The final unfolding connected to that day will not announce itself loudly at first, it will feel subtle, almost ordinary, until suddenly it is undeniable. Have you ever noticed how the biggest changes often begin quietly? Stay with me, because the last piece of this revelation is moving into place even as you listen, and when it reveals itself fully, it will answer why your path could never mirror anyone else's, and why what happens next will rewrite the meaning of that day forever, and everything is about to be revealed. And as that revelation draws nearer, my child, I need you to stay steady with me, because this layer is where truth stops feeling symbolic and starts becoming personal. Listen carefully, because what is surfacing now is not just about understanding the past but recognizing the moment you are standing in right now. Don't skip this, because the shift you feel is not anticipation alone, it is recognition. Have you ever felt like something you have been waiting for is finally close enough to touch, even if you cannot yet name it? That feeling is not emotional, it is prophetic, and I need to ask you honestly, do you sense a quiet readiness inside you that was not there before? My beloved, the incident from that day created a spiritual timestamp, and timestamps exist so fulfillment arrives exactly where it belongs, not early and not late, and today you are standing on that mark. Can you feel how your patience has transformed into expectation instead of exhaustion? This is not random, you must hear this, because exhaustion fades when purpose becomes clear, and clarity is settling over you right now. Type yes if confusion has been losing its grip lately, because that is confirmation, and listen closely. The reason old fears are resurfacing briefly is not because they are returning, but because they are being released for good. Have you noticed how fears that once controlled you now feel smaller when you look at them? That is power reclaiming its place, my child. The wedding day incident did not predict struggle, it predicted strength, and strength always attracts testing before it attracts reward. Do you realize how much you can handle now compared to then? That realization is important, because what is coming will require confidence without arrogance and faith without hesitation, and I ask you gently, do you believe you are capable of holding joy without waiting for it to disappear? Stay with me, because this interruption carries urgency. The reason blessings are approaching now is because you no longer confuse peace with boredom, and peace is the environment where miracles settle. Have you felt more comfortable with calm instead of chaos recently? Type Amen if stillness no longer scares you, because that is readiness. And listen carefully, the final movement tied to that day will not look dramatic at first, but it will change direction permanently, and once it begins, there will be no returning to the old cycle. Can you sense how your choices are already shifting subtly? My beloved, you are not being pushed forward, you are being invited. An invitation requires awareness. Do you feel aware of the weight and value of this moment now? Do not skip this, because the last truth connected to that wedding day is preparing to step into the light, and when it does, it will explain why everything slowed down just before it started moving fast, and what happens next will leave you unable to deny that your life has crossed a point of no return. And as you cross that point of no return, my beloved, I need you to stay fully present now, because this layer is where understanding becomes activation. Listen carefully, because what is being revealed is not only meant to be known, it is meant to be lived. Don't skip this, because the truth arriving now carries responsibility and reward together. Have you noticed how your decisions feel heavier lately, as if they matter more than they used to? That is not pressure, that is authority awakening, and I ask you honestly, do you feel a deeper sense of ownership over your life now? My child, the incident that occurred on that wedding day did something subtle but powerful. It shifted you from surviving to stewarding, and stewardship always begins with awareness. Can you feel how much more intentional you have become with your energy, your words, your boundaries? This is not random, you must hear this, because intention attracts outcomes faster than effort alone, and outcomes are aligning with you now. Type yes if you feel more deliberate than before, because that is confirmation, and listen closely. the reason distractions have lost their appeal is because your spirit recognizes what time it is. Have you noticed how certain things no longer satisfy you even though they once did? That dissatisfaction is not emptiness, it is hunger for alignment. My beloved, the wedding day incident placed a quiet mantle on you, and mantles always feel uncomfortable before they feel empowering. Do you remember moments when responsibility felt heavy without explanation? That weight was preparation, and preparation is ending now. I need to interrupt this moment with urgency, because if you turn away you will misunderstand what is unfolding. The season ahead will require discernment more than effort. Have you felt guided to pause before acting lately instead of rushing? That guidance is protection in motion, and I ask you gently, do you trust your discernment enough to follow it even when it contradicts expectation? Stay with me, because another truth is surfacing. The reason clarity is increasing is because confusion is no longer permitted where you are going. Have you noticed how decisions are becoming simpler even when they are not easier? Type Amen if peace is guiding your choices now, because that is evidence of alignment, and listen carefully. The final activation connected to that day will express itself through action, not words, and when it does, others will notice the change before you explain it. Can you sense that quiet confidence forming in you? My child, this is the moment where the past releases its hold and the future begins responding to you directly, and what unfolds next will confirm that this was not just a revelation but a turning point, and everything you do after this will carry new weight. And as that new weight settles into your hands, my child, I need you to stay with me just a little longer, because this layer explains why your actions now carry unusual impact. Listen carefully, because impact is never accidental, it is the result of alignment meeting timing. Don't skip this, because the shift you are living in right now is the evidence that the unseen agreement from that day has fully dissolved. Have you noticed how your words seem to land differently when you speak now? That is not confidence alone, that is authority awakening, and I ask you honestly, do you feel more certain when you say no and more intentional when you say yes? My beloved, the incident that once lingered as a question mark has now become a period, and closure changes posture. Can you feel how you stand differently in situations that once made you shrink? This is not random, you must hear this, because the reason respect is meeting you now is because self-recognition arrived first. Type yes if you feel more rooted in who you are than ever before, because that rooting is the foundation of what is next. And listen closely, the reason certain people are reacting differently to you is because the version of you they could influence no longer exists. Have you sensed subtle shifts in how others approach you? That is recalibration, and recalibration always follows truth. My child, the wedding day incident taught you something without words. It taught you how to carry joy and responsibility at the same time, and that balance is rare. Do you realize how few people can hold both without losing themselves? That is why your next season will not mirror your past, and I need to interrupt you here, because if doubt tries to whisper now, it will attempt to disguise itself as humility, but humility does not deny growth. Have you been minimizing how far you have come? Type 1 accept if you are ready to acknowledge your progress without guilt, because acceptance unlocks momentum. And listen carefully, the reason opportunities are testing you now is because you are trusted with choice, not forced by circumstance. Have you noticed how you are being invited instead of pushed? That invitation is proof of readiness, my beloved. The final residue of that incident is lifting even now, and as it lifts, space is being created for something entirely new to enter. Can you feel anticipation replacing vigilance? Stay with me, do not skip this, because the last unveiling connected to that wedding day is about to step forward, and when it does, It will explain why this moment feels both calm and electric, and the truth that remains unrevealed will alter how you step into everything that follows. And as that calm electricity hums through you, my beloved, I need you to receive this final layer not with strain but with openness, because what I am revealing now is the reason this message had to reach you today and not another moment. Listen carefully, because the secret incident on that wedding day was never meant to trap you in the past, it was meant to signal a future intersection, and that intersection has arrived. Don't skip this, because this is where many suddenly realize why. Everything converged at once. Have you felt lately as if your life has been narrowing towards something specific instead of scattering in many directions? That narrowing is focus, and focus is destiny calling you by name, my child. The unseen record from that day has now been reviewed, closed, and released, and when a record closes, authority transfers. Do you feel more ownership over your direction now, even when outcomes are not fully visible? This is not random, you must hear this, because uncertainty no longer has permission to lead you, clarity does. Type yes if you feel guided rather than pressured, because that guidance is active now, and listen closely. The reason your spirit feels lighter is because you are no longer carrying questions that were never yours to answer. Have you noticed how some worries simply dissolved without resolution? That is divine closure, my beloved. The wedding day incident did not predict an ending, it prepared you for a beginning that required depth, endurance, and maturity, and now those qualities are present. Do you recognize how differently you approach life compared to who you were then? That recognition is the threshold, and I need to interrupt you here with urgency, because if you dismiss this moment you will miss the final confirmation forming in your environment right now. Have you sensed subtle signs aligning around you recently? Conversations, timings, feelings that echo this message? Type Amen if this feels too precise to ignore, because precision is how truth announces itself, and listen carefully. The reason the future feels close is because it is responding to you now, not chasing you later, my child. The silence you endured was not absence, it was preparation, and preparation always ends with movement. Can you feel momentum gathering even in stillness? Stay with me, do not look away, because the last truth I have not spoken yet is about to step fully into your life, not as a memory, not as a message, but as an event, and when it unfolds, it will confirm beyond doubt why that day mattered, why this moment matters, and why what happens next will change everything. And as everything holds its breath around you, my child, I need you to remain attentive now, because this continuation is where the unseen crosses into the visible. Listen carefully, because the event forming is already in motion even if no announcement has been made yet. Don't skip this, because many miss miracles simply because they expect them to arrive loudly. Have you noticed how the most important shifts in your life began quietly before they became undeniable? This is one of those moments, and I ask you honestly, do you feel an unusual stillness mixed with anticipation right now? My beloved, the final residue of that wedding day incident did not vanish, it transformed into timing, and timing is the language destiny uses when words are no longer needed. Do you sense how certain things are aligning without you forcing them? This is not random, you must hear this, because effort is giving way to alignment, and alignment accelerates outcomes. Type yes if things feel less heavy even while becoming more significant, because that lightness is your confirmation. And listen closely, the reason your intuition feels sharper than ever is because it is being asked to guide you through opportunity, not survival. Have you noticed how your inner voice sounds calmer yet more certain? That certainty is essential now, my child, because what is approaching will require you to choose quickly but wisely, and hesitation will not be confusion, it will be awareness weighing its options. Do you trust yourself enough to decide without second-guessing when the moment arrives? Stay with me, because another interruption is coming, and it carries urgency. The reason some people will be surprised by what unfolds is because they never saw the preparation happening in you. Have you realized how much of your growth occurred in silence? That hidden growth is why the outcome will seem sudden. My beloved, the wedding day incident did not mark you for struggle, it marked you for recognition, and recognition always arrives after refinement. Do you feel ready to be seen without shrinking? Type 1. I'm ready if you feel prepared to stand where you once would have hidden, because readiness activates manifestation. And listen carefully, the environment around you is already responding, even if you have not yet named what is changing. Have you noticed subtle confirmations appearing in conversations, opportunities, or timing lately? Those are not hints, they are signals, and I need you to stay present now, because the final movement tied to that day is no longer approaching, it is arriving, and when it fully steps into your reality, it will not ask for permission, it will simply take its place, and the moment that happens, nothing in your life will remain the same, and what happens next will shock you beyond anything you imagined.